All right, now let's bring this down and distill this down to something that's usable, or what can you expect in the future, that's coming here. Okay, so I'm going to play devil's advocate here because we just said this. Okay, the hypergamy is a reason for abortion. Okay, it's like nothing says he ain't the right guy than the universal right to end the pregnancy, end his genetic legacy in utero. So, I don't want to. Now you're a little too beta for me. I'm not going to have your babies. Oh, you're alpha. I'm going to have your babies, but I'm going to pretend that it's actually. It's going to be what is it? Myron's illegitimate children on Instagram, right? Yeah. And so we're going to pretend like I'm going to have Chad's baby. I'm going to pretend it's your baby. Like like cuckoldry is something that is not too difficult to get away with these days. However, okay, so you've got hypergamy. We've already established that that abortion is a fail-safe, but okay, also it is a way a man does not need to assume any responsibility. You're going to hear this. Well, what about the guy? If you just would have kept his pecker in his pants, then that's the easiest way to avoid an abortion. So if you guys could just, right? Yeah, well, it's a fair argument. But the thing is like when you look at the stats, like when we talk about the GSS study and how like it's like guys between the ages of 18 and 29 aren't having sex at all. They're virgins, or they are just simply they're incels. And we go, oh, you're an incel. Perfect. But the thing is like, women are the ones that are still having sex at relatively normal rates. It's guys who are not having sex. So. That's another data point we can correlate with what we've just been talking about. But here's my thing is, a man does not need to assume any responsibility in his actions. He does not need, or does he not need to wear prophylactics, but to force his partner to abort. It's easy for him. People are going to say that those abortions that were elective it's men strong arming these women into having those abortions, or they'll say, well, if you would just keep your dick in your pants, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. So responsibility without authority. Once again, here we are. So we've got the responsibility for the pregnancy, but the problem is that's putting the cart before the horse. So once you get a woman pregnant, you're powerless. Yeah. The decision is no longer yours. So the decision to have sex might be the man and the woman, but the decision for the abortion is on you. That's it. Yep. It is only women get to decide that. And they are very, very outrageously vocal about that because they want everyone to know that you stay out of my government, out of my uterus. Okay. Well, the problem is that when people ask me like to explain, responsibility versus authority. And I've always said, responsibility without authority is slavery. And thank you, turd flinging monkey, for that when I ripped you off. But it holds true. Okay. So the responsibility of the pregnancy might still be the two people coming together, but the responsibility for the abortion is all on the woman. Yeah. So what they're doing is they're trying to conflate those two. Well, if we could just head those guys off at the pass and keep their the guys are just walking around with random hard-ons and women are just slipping and falling on top of them or something like that. That's not what's happening. Okay. Once the sperm leaves your body, you are 100% powerless at that time. And so whether or not a baby gets born is the decision of the mother. One sex, only one, not both of them. One sex gets to decide that by law, now by state law, but only one sex gets to decide that. Once the sperm leaves your body, you're effectively powerless at that time, and that's the discussion. So gentlemen, whenever you're faced with this argument where they're saying, well, if you would just kept your pecker in your pants, that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about the sex that happened that caused the pregnancy. We're talking about the pregnancy once the baby's in the uterus and the woman decides to terminate the pregnancy. So, and that's where like the TradCon argument kind of falls apart, because they'll say, well, abortion is murder. Okay, well, if it is, then are you prepared to prosecute women for murder one? Because it's premeditated murder. It meets the definition for premeditated murder. So Matt Walsh, are you willing to prosecute women who get an abortion for murder one?
Wow.
Answer that. Answer me that. Riddle me that, Batman.
I told you guys were going to be impartial on this one. I told you guys. Well, even the conservatives we're talking to them too.
What is a woman? Okay, what is an abortion? Is it murder? Because if it is, you got to be ready to prosecute for that, because we would prosecute anyone else for the same thing.
Prior abortions, everyone's going to jail.
Yeah. Well, you can't. That's after the fact.